I'll show you. I will show you how it comes. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Reverend Connie Simon, and I am glad that you are here with us this special Sunday morning. If you'd like more information about our urban church, please send an email to member-care@firstuu.com. Our services are every Sunday morning at 10 a.m., and we would be delighted if you'd join us. We will now begin our service by lighting our chalice, the chosen symbol of our faith, with these words by Carl Seaberg. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and disrepair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mrs. Wathen, Ellen Wathen, and I'm going to tell you the story called Ask Mr. Bear. So, once upon a time, there was a little boy named Danny. And one day, Danny's mother had a birthday. And Danny was sitting thinking to himself, I wonder what I can give my mother for her birthday. So, he started out to see what he could find. And he walked along and he walked along until he came to a hen. Oh, good morning, Mrs. Hen, said Danny. Do you have something that I could give my mother for her birthday? Cluck, cluck, said the hen. I have a nice fresh egg that I could give your mother for her birthday. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Hen, but she already has an egg. Thank you anyway. Well, let's see what we can find then, said the hen. So they walked along and they walked along and walked along until they came to a sheep. Oh, good morning, Mrs. Sheep, said Danny. Do you have something I could give my mother for her birthday? Bah, bah, said the sheep. I have some warm wool that you could make into a blanket for your mother for her birthday. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Sheep, but she already has a blanket. Well, let's see what we can find then. So they walked along and they walked along until they came to a dog. Oh, hello, little dog. Good morning. Do you have something I could give my mother for her birthday? Yes, I have a bowl of water I could give your mother for her birthday. Oh, said Danny, thank you very, very much, but she already has water. Let's see what we can find then, said the dog. So they skipped along and skipped along and skipped along until they came to a squirrel. Chip, 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 chip. Oh, hello, little squirrel, said Danny. Do you have something that I could give my mother for her birthday? Chip, 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 said the squirrel. Yes, I have some nuts that you could give your mother. Oh, thank you very much, little squirrel, but she already has some nuts. Oh, let's see what we can find then, said the squirrel. So they hopped along and hopped along until they came to a cow. Moo. Oh, hello, Mrs. Cow. Good morning. Do you have something I could give my mother for her birthday? Moo, moo, said the cow. I have some nice fresh milk I could give your mother for her birthday. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Cow, but she already has lots of milk. Moo. So Danny said, what should I do? Moo. Ask Mr. Bear, said Mrs. Cow. He lives up the hill in the woods. Oh, all right. Can you go with me? No, no, said Mrs. Cow. So Danny walked along and he went up the hill and he went into the woods, into the trees, until he came to Mr. Bear. Oh, hello, Mr. Bear. I've been looking for you. Can you give me something to give Mother for her birthday? Said the bear. I cannot give you something for her birthday, but I can tell you what you can give her. Oh, all right. So Mr. Bear went over and he whispered in Danny's ear. And Danny, thank you, Mr. Bear. Oh, and Danny ran out of the woods, and he ran down the hill, and he ran all the way home until he found his mother. Mother. Hello, Danny. Oh, Mother, happy birthday. I have something to give you. So his mother tried to guess what Danny had to give her. And she said, well, is it an egg? No, it's not an egg. Is it some warm wool to make a blanket? No. it's not a blanket. Is it a bowl of fresh water? No, it's not water. Is it some nuts? No, it's not nuts. Is it some nice fresh milk? No, it's not fresh milk. So his mother thought and thought, and she could not think of what it could be. So Danny came over to his mother and he gave her a nice, big bear hug. And his mother thought that was the best birthday present ever. The end. Bye.
This is the time in our service where we pause to honor the joys and the sorrows, those things that have happened in the cycle of our lives since last we were together. There have been joys this week. There have been weddings and births and people getting to share hugs for the first time in months. And there have been moments of great gladness. And there have been moments of sorrow in the last week. Over the last 3 years that I've been here, you know how much it's pained me when I have to stand here and tell you about another mass shooting. And this week, since last we were together, there have been several shootings. And we have the anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting. It's hard to believe that that happened 5 years ago. In this last week, we saw one man perpetrate 5 shootings in the Georgia and Alabama area. 5 people were wounded. In Chicago, 10 people were shot, 9 wounded, 1 died. 14 people in Austin, Texas. 8 in Savannah, Georgia. And in Dallas, Texas, 4 adults and 1 4-year-old child. And it's the anniversary of the shooting at the Pulse nightclub on June 12th. These weigh heavy on our hearts, and so we drop a stone in our water. We'll make it 2, and they will be big stones for the grief that we carry over those events. It is our hope that our sorrows will be softened and our grief will be lessened by the healing power of this water, which was blessed by this congregation. We'll drop another stone, 2 stones, for all the joys in the world, in the hope that they may be amplified and help to further lessen our grief. For those we've named, for those whose names we do not know, and for all those whose names are carefully buried in our hearts, we drop another stone. This morning, I want to share with you a special reading written by Reverend Keith Cron, entitled Grieving Gun Violence. Today and forever, I grieve the loss of life. I grieve for the people who died in these most recent shootings. I grieve for their families, their friends, and their co-workers. I grieve for those who were there and feel both lucky and guilty that they survived while others died. We have witnessed another national tragedy. I grieve for all those directly and indirectly affected by today. I grieve for those who are reminded of their own losses, the parents and families in Alabama, in Georgia, in Texas, in Florida, and in other places. All those who know someone who has been lost in mass shooting and feel that rise of emotion that a day like today produces for them. I grieve for those who have died and those who loved them who died when we did not pay attention. Having served as a chaplain at San Francisco General Hospital, having been trained as a hospice volunteer during the AIDS epidemic, I watched many people die, whether they were homeless or gay or people of color, and no one really noticed. I grieve for police officers and safety officials who are trained in how to respond to mass shootings. I grieve for workers who must look at and remove the bodies, who try and keep the wounded alive, who must tell family members that someone they love has died or been hurt. I grieve for the first responders who will never forget this day. I grieve for the reporters trying to tell a story while witnessing and listening to horrific details. I grieve for the parents who must explain today to their children. I grieve for parents who have wondered if they should have done more when they've seen hatred and anger come from their children. I grieve for the parents who simply turned away or encouraged the hatred and anger. I grieve for the parents who say they didn't see this coming from their children. I grieve for schools that did not have the resources to educate and manage children, where they know some children will slip through the cracks. I grieve for those who believe there are sides and lines to be drawn. There are no sides. We all lost today. We move forward only by laying down our own sword of words and being with one another, of seeing each other's humanity and reminding ourselves that the responsibility to be a human being means remembering we are one human among billions on this planet. I grieve for a planet that forgets that a leading tenet of every major religion in the world is to treat others as you would like to be treated. I grieve for those who will be assumed to be bad people because they are perceived to be like a shooter, whether they live with mental health issues, are a responsible gun owner, or similar in some other way. I grieve for our country where we could rush to believe that only others have responsibility for today. We must come together for the sake of each other. I grieve for those who will die and those whose loved ones will die, and those who will lose loved ones in the next shooting, and the next, and the next, and the next, until we decide they must stop, until we act. I grieve for a country and for a planet where this violence is all too common, all too familiar, all too tragic. I pray that each of us commits to be a little more humane, a little more compassionate, a little more willing to come together to be part of a solution. I pray that we work together to end hatred and superiority. I pray that we decide to become better people today. I pray that we never forget. I pledge to remember. I pledge to become a better person. I pledge to be a part of the solution, however many solutions it takes. Please join me now in a moment of silent meditation, reflection, and prayer as we enjoy these lovely flowers given to us by Mary Mark as a reminder that summer is coming. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Good morning. I'm Wilson Willard. I'm the Executive Director of the Help Program Cincinnati, and I thank you all for inviting me into your homes through video and into your church to speak about the Help Program. The United States incarcerates more people than anybody else in the world. Everybody kind of knows the problem. We have returning citizens, as we call them, coming back to Hamilton County from prisons all over the state and from federal incarceration as well. The rate at which they come doesn't seem to decrease as we move through the different decades, but the reaction of the community here in Greater Cincinnati has changed dramatically. When I first began work in this field, so many of the opportunities just weren't there. There weren't job opportunities for returning citizens. People would come out to find that there were issues with getting housing, getting employment, getting transportation to and from work, everything being a barrier to continued and improved quality of life for these individuals. As the economy has changed and more job opportunities have come about, some of the other barriers have continued and made things very difficult for what we call returning citizens. The transportation issue is still there. Cincinnati has a very low-rated bus system that doesn't reach all of the job opportunities that are available in the area. And then housing is also a continued problem for those returning citizens in terms of being access to that. But the biggest issue that one that we work with in the HELP program to change lives is employment. If we can help an individual who's returning from prison find and maintain employment and lead to economic stability, then we can start to improve things in every other area of their life. And so there's a video that we're going to show this morning that it involves seeing both members who have been successful in the program and one of our leaders of the program, Bob Miller, who's our board president, talking about his impact in working directly with what we call returning citizens. And then I'll continue to introduce the program and discuss ways that members here of this parish could become involved and begin to help with the problem. Thank you.
Where does one go to find the face of God? Well, for Bob Miller, he sees it in the people he serves.
People who screw up, so we're not forgiving anybody, but people who get into and find themselves on a hamster wheel that they can't get off.
And they've been part of Bob's remarkable journey. It's a journey that's taken him from corporate America to the HELP program for returning citizens, a group providing practical assistance to formerly incarcerated men and women.
He has a wealth of knowledge and experience in upper management, conservative, Republican, tough on crime.
It made a lot of sense to me. Throw them in jail. And then I had the opportunity to meet some people who were convicted felons, who'd served their time, who came out and said, just give me a chance.
I served 12 years in prison and I didn't want to go back. And I think he was won over by the fact that we were just campaigning for a chance at a quality way of life.
Once someone has a conviction, getting good employment is almost impossible.
No, 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 no. No, thank you, no. Not right now. No, no, no. It's constant rejection and it weighs on them.
They need money. They need the ability to support themselves. And a number of our partners have enabled us to find people immediate temporary employment.
Today, a potential HELP member walking through the door for the first time can be working within 24 hours.
Immediate effort is to get people work, to have them demonstrate their work ethic and ability and desire.
Creating a career path is only part of the re-entry process. A set of returning citizens needed to change from survive to thrive.
And we've found mentors can help people think to the future, problem solve, learn from experiences they've gotten into.
The impact of the HELP program on returning citizens is obvious.
It touches individuals, and it can be frustrating sometimes because not everybody's ready to change. But when I see someone respond and grow, I take great satisfaction in seeing them achieve.
For somebody who's been through what I've been through, the mistakes I made, to be in a situation where I'm trying to find a way to give back, I know I'm blessed to have a job where God puts me in a situation where I see the least of his people every day and have an opportunity to try to help them.
My name is James Perkins. I'm a graduate member of the HELP program. The program also gave me a mentor, a person to talk to, something I never would have done before. But it allows you to vent, so to speak, to someone who will listen. You know, they're really not judging you or anything, they're just listening. And that's a great thing because usually when you vent, you get some kind of feedback, negative or whatever. Most of the time it's negative, but just to have an ear to listen to is a great inspiration for me because I usually don't talk because I feel like I might offend somebody and, you know, I don't want to do that. But I just think this program and the opportunity that the HELP members or I don't know what they actually call it, recruits or whatever, they give you, the opportunities that they give you are just unbelievable. I was able to obtain transportation through the program, which is great. It allows me to make sure I'm always on time to even if I had to seek employment, it allows me to do that. I'm actually, this is the first time in a long time I've had my license, insurance, and a car. So usually you might have a car, but you drive, you're scared to get pulled over. Now I'm just jubilant inside. I feel that the help program is an ongoing process. It's sort of like an AA or NA. You never stop striving. You have to live it day by day, but my days are going pretty good so far.
This program has really helped my son. I mean, I'm smiling like a big kid because, I've seen a big difference in my son.
I got the car through the program. It was donated.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you, program. Thank you.
I got it from the program. It was donated to me. So I was like, thank you. And I think the program every day, like, it's to this day, it's people to this day ask me about the program. I tell them, like, look, it's a good program. Like, I mean, if it weren't for this program, I'd probably still be out here doing anything and everything, trying to make ends meet, do this and do that. I mean, I wake up every day and thank God that, I mean, if it weren't for this program, my family and all that, I wouldn't be nowhere. Like, I'd probably still be locked up I'll probably be somewhere locked up again. So I thank everybody for that. Like,
The members you saw, both James and Calvin, continue to work with the HELP program, and they're examples of what we are all about. The HELP program is about taking those individuals, giving them an opportunity in what is a staged program. So as James mentioned, it's a long-term process. So we start individuals initially coming in the door with finding out, do they even have the documents they need to work legally? Do they have their ID, their social security card, their birth certificate? Because when they went to prison, often it was, shock, and nobody took care of their documents. Nobody put things away. Things were left in the apartment and the landlord threw them out. And now, with the I-9 requirements, as a person comes out, you can't legally work without those documents. Well, it's extremely hard to get. If you have nothing, it's hard to get everything. You have to go to the Social Security office and prove who you are to get a new Social Security card, and that can take weeks. You have to order your birth certificate. If you're from out of state, that's going to take, depending on what state it is, 2 to 8 weeks. And of course, there's a cost associated with that, which if you don't have a job, you don't have the money for. Then you add to that the burden of the ID. You can take your prison ID and exchange it at the motor vehicles for a state ID with a fee, but you can't get if you don't have your prison ID anymore, or if you don't have your old state ID, you need your birth certificate and social security card to get the ID. And so those challenges make it very difficult for someone to work. Luckily, the gentleman that you saw in the video, Dominic Duran, from the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, he's also a HELP member. He runs the reentry program there. And St. Vincent de Paul has been a great partner for HELP in that they provide the birth certificate and the state ID, a voucher, so that the individual can go and pay for that for in-state, for state of Ohio ones. HELP provides the funds if they need a birth certificate from out of state. And so we get that started for the individual, and then we get them what we call initial employment. And it used to be, as the video stated, it could take as much as 24 hours. Now we're down to about 2. We have a staffing agency in-house within the program that's designed to help offset the costs that we face going out there and working with individuals, but also gives us an opportunity to get employment really fast for people. So if somebody does have everything they need, we can get them right to work. And that's huge because many individuals, they're coming from a place of feeling unsafe, feeling insecure in their housing situation, whatever else. And so having a job, having employment immediately is very comforting for them, even though it's not necessarily a great job. But it's a job that's designed for us to find out who this person is as an individual, because we get them right to work, and now we find out, does this individual know how to work? Have they ever had a job before? Do they understand that a 5-minute break really is only 5 minutes? That employer's not going to let you take 10. Can you stay off your cell phone? Do you understand how to take constructive criticism? And once we see these issues, we can address those during that initial employment. and try and get this individual ready for the later stages of the program. Once we start them working, we tell them we're an empowerment program, not an entitlement program. So yes, we've given you a job, and we're going to give you free transportation to work. We have a 15-passenger van that starts running at 3:30 in the morning and goes all the way till 1 a.m. of going back and forth to job sites for free for these individuals. Of course, we have a cost, but it's free for them to ride the van and get back and forth to work. And the goal is to say, you're going to empower yourself. We're going to get you these full-time paychecks or more if you're doing overtime. We're going to get you back and forth to work. But we want to see, will you show up every day? So during this initial employment phase, we're looking at their attendance really closely. We're addressing work issues, and we're trying to identify individuals that we can move along. So Calvin, that you met in the video with his father, was one of the individuals who'd never had a job before that he kept for more than a couple of days. His father talked about how Calvin would get a job and work 2 or 3 days and figure out how much money he made, and he needed $200 to pay a bill. He'd made $200, so he would slack off and not work. Well, we got Calvin working, and we encouraged the idea that you're going to have perfect attendance. And once Calvin started getting full-time paychecks, he realized this isn't that bad. Here's how much I make when I work 40 hours every week, and I'm doing it week after week after week, and all these other problems start to fall away when you have a full-time income. And so once we identified Calvin as somebody that we could work with on other issues and had the attendance, we were able to move him to a better job. And that better job is what we call the training stage. We have a stage where we're putting them into this higher level job, and we start to expend help funds on them to train them to be even a better worker. So he joined what we call our Upward to Work class, which is a partnership with St. Vincent de Paul. And in that class, he was able to get a forklift license, his OSHA card, CPR, first aid, a lot of little certifications that, frankly, for those of us that have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, those don't look like all that much. But to these individuals, it means everything, because many didn't have anything to put on their resume before. And these are accomplishments for them that they can feel proud of, and it shows the employer they're doing something to better themselves for employment. They're doing something to get themselves ready to be out there in the workforce. I noticed on your website that one of your vision statements is that you're gently transforming lives. Well, that's what we're doing as well. In the HELP program is we're taking these individuals and getting them those certifications and putting them in that training program. We're transforming how they look at work, how they look at themselves. And now they see themselves as this reliable worker who's showing up. They've seen what happened to their bank accounts, even especially if it's the first time they've ever had one, but they've seen what's happened to their finances overall from working full-time week after week. And for many, as I said, this is the first time they've ever done that. So now, while St. Vincent de Paul is interacting with them and the HELP program is interacting with them, and we've got them to work long-term and start to improve themselves through these training programs, we can now have conversations about careers, not just jobs. We can start to talk to individuals about, okay, here's the company you're with now. Do you like it here? There's ways to get promoted here, or we have even better jobs we can move you to that we didn't introduce you to before because we didn't know about your reliability. We didn't know about how focused you were going to be. So during this time, we start to fix their driver's license. Transportation in this region, it's not that Metro doesn't try and do a good job, but Hamilton County has a lot of small municipalities, and they don't all contribute to the bus system equally. And so as you look at that and you say to somebody, well, there's this great job at Amazon. They're paying $18 an hour. Well, sure, but it costs $6 a day to get there from Cincinnati, because you have to take 2 Cincinnati buses potentially from where you live, and then you have to take the tank in Kentucky to get to that job. And so you need $6 cash every day to go to that job. Well, over a 2-week period before you get your first check, do the math. That person needed $60 or $70 cash just to get to this job. So it's not as simple as just taking that employment at Amazon if they're willing to hire this person. And in the case of returning citizens, they often aren't. And then on top of that, for our returning citizens, they often can't go into Kentucky or Indiana. Their probation officer, by law, has limited them to within the county or within just the state of Ohio. So those limitations are already in place in terms of what jobs are available to the returning citizens. And then you compound that by a bus system that doesn't go to every job. There's studies have shown that most of the higher paying jobs in this area are outside of the 275 Beltway. Well, our bus system is predominantly inside the 275 Beltway. So for an individual who hears about a great job in Fairfield, getting there from downtown Cincinnati looks simple on a map. It is extremely complicated when you're trying to use the bus. And if the hours don't match your job, you're out of luck. So what HELP does, we were blessed enough to have a van donated by a parishioner at St. Francis de Sales Church. One of the parishioners there donated a 15-passenger van to the program. And so we use our funds that are raised through donations and grants to purchase gas cards and to pay drivers to run that van, as I mentioned, from 3:30 in the morning till 1 at night, going back and forth to different job sites, getting people to work, and not charging them anything. There are other job programs in this area that charge the people riding the van to ride the van. What we do is we make it free. And the reason we do that is because we're telling them, we're here to support you. We want you to get used to this. Now, it's not free forever, because eventually we say to them, we expect you to become self-sufficient. And we're going to help you get this license. If you're a reliable worker, we're going to help you get your driver's license. So what we do is we have a full-time volunteer who does what middle-class parents all over this country do, teaches one-on-one driver's ed with people. And I don't have the patience for it. I don't have any kids, and so I tried it once, and I knew it wasn't for me. But we have a volunteer that does this, and all he does is he takes individuals out and he teaches them to drive, helps them get their license. We have a grant from a local foundation that helps pay to reinstate their license. And of course, we have donors that help us pay the fees for these individuals to get their driving privileges back. And then once they have their driving privileges back, we wait, and donated cars come in. Because people donate, if you donate your car to a program like ours, unlike some of the other agencies around the area that take donated cars, you only get the value of what they auction the car off. Because we fix the car. We take it to a returning citizen mechanic who has been willing to help us with discounted labor rates, fix the car. Once we get the car fixed, we give it to the person who's really ready to drive. So a gentleman like Calvin and a gentleman like James both got cars that were donated by people like yourselves who saw me at a Dismas journey, and they donated those cars. We fixed the car up, sometimes costing hundreds of dollars to get the car fixed. But once we do, we get this individual behind the wheel and make sure they buy insurance and then say, good, now you've got your own way to work. You're self-sufficient, and we can move you to an even better job because you've proven yourself enough that now I'm confident that I can call the HR directors who I've built a relationship with and say, yeah, I know you said you don't necessarily take all felon types, but this gentleman has just put in over 90 days at 2 different jobs, been really reliable. He has a car. He's got his OSHA card. He's got his forklift license. And he's somebody you can have in your workplace that's going to do well. It was referenced about the tragedies of the different shootings, and I know some of those have been workplace shootings. And I often talk to employers who say, that's one of the reasons they don't hire felons, is that, they worry about workplace violence. Well, I'm sorry, but guess what? Those shootings, those aren't usually somebody that was a returning citizen. When they look at those individuals, what do they always say? They were surprised. He was quiet. He worked there 22 years. He wasn't any problems. My guys, unfortunately, if they're going to get emotional, they get emotional right then. And they're just going to get upset and maybe yell, but that's it. We've never had an incident of workplace violence among our people. But we have employers that are scared to hire returning citizens for that reason, when it's in fact not those individuals that cause the problem of that nature in the workplace. But we tell them, give our individuals a chance. Well, the economy has forced many companies to give people a chance now. the lack of employment, employees looking for work has forced some employers to say, well, we didn't want to take returning citizens, but we will now. And so they will give them a chance at this point because they don't have another pool to dip into. But even then, they sometimes say, well, we'll take everybody except this conviction, or everybody except some other, past incidents of violence, or in their personal lives and things like that. And so we're constantly advocating for the idea that, look, if they go through this program, they put in this time, those issues disappear. So that's our training stage as we get individuals to develop. And once we get them a car and move them forward, that's what we call our rising stage. And that's where we look for mentors. And that's where there's an opportunity for the community to step up. We have a training program for our mentors where Bob Miller works closely with them to make them understand what a mentor is, that it's a listening ear, that you're providing a perspective to individuals that they may not have had before, and you're helping them with a very specific action plan. Each one of those individuals that we give as a mentee comes with a document that talks about what their goals are and the steps that they need to reach them. And some are more complicated than others. We have a gentleman that's starting Cincinnati State for the maintenance program so that he can get a maintenance certificate. And we have others whose goals are a lot simpler. They just need to obtain stable housing on their own. And so it's a matter of convincing a landlord that we can take this person who's had past convictions on their record or past evictions, and that they'll be a good tenant at this point, despite that history. So whatever the goal is, the mentor is there to work with them on that action plan to help that take place and to work through our rising stage to get this individual to reach their own goals. And then once they do, we call that our achieving stage. That's when the person has done everything we've asked them to do. They've now found and maintained employment long-term, and they're just doing well. And so at this point, the role of the mentor is just to provide another perspective when they need advice on a problem. It's one of those things where if you call your friends for advice, they often give you the same kind of advice you would have given them, and maybe that's not the right answer. And so, they need somebody in their lives to give them that advice, and it just involves meeting with them once a month, just having a conversation over a cup of coffee or a meal, up to you how that takes place. And sometimes it's just text messages saying, hey, how's things going? What are your plans now? What are you working on? Helping them understand things like a credit report or maybe mail that they've gotten that they just didn't really, because of their background, didn't have the education to read very well. One of the things we look for is skilled mentors in particular, people that might come with a specific background. So if somebody has an accounting background or a finance background, our board could use a new member who has that background. And we only meet 6 times a year, so it's not a burdensome board where there are constant meetings or anything like that. But that person can also help returning citizens with their budgeting, with their financial planning. Credit repair, we're looking for a volunteer who can come and be willing to do the credit repair training to help our members who have reached that achieving stage now go back and fix their credit so they can move forward in the future. So there's a lot of ways that a person can assist returning citizens, and mostly it's at that rising and achieving stage, because at that point, our returning citizens have proven to us that they've wanted to make a change in their lives. They're not living the same life they were before. And that's why it's so important that we're a staged program, because we don't want to waste resources, which are limited. We don't want to waste our resources on individuals who aren't serious. You're not going to come in and fool me. You're not going to say, I really want to work, Will, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to be serious, and give me a car. That's not going to happen. You're going to go to work, and you're going to be reliable, and you're going to demonstrate that you are serious about changing your life before we give you access to those resources, before we expend funds training you, and before we give you a mentor. So by doing that, you're going to have to really prove yourself. And that makes a big difference, because you can fake it for a little while. You're not going to fake it for 30 days working in a meatpacking plant, in the cold and working the kind of hours they do on their feet If you're not serious, it'll show. You'll start to call off, you'll start to miss work, you'll start to just disappear on us. And when you do that, each time you're going to start over. You're going to put in that consistent work before we move you forward. And the final stage of our program is the thriving stage. So you saw Dominic Duran in the video. He's what we consider a thriving member. He's at the point in the program where he's able to give back, where he has gone through the stages of the program. He has a full-time job. He doesn't need help on a regular basis. We don't provide him transportation. We don't have to do anything directly to assist him on a regular basis. He's there, and we're there to support him, and his mentor is always going to be there for him, but he's independent, and now he's looking back and helping others. He's the vice president of our board. He is able to mentor young men who are coming into the program, and he's able to talk to them and say, there is life after incarceration. There is redemption in our society, and here's the path to it. And for us, it's that path through employment towards everything else. It's important, and I always remind everyone that we're an empowerment program and not an entitlement program, because so many people get resentful as I talk about, we're doing all these things for returning citizens. Well, my son is having struggles with work, and he doesn't even have a felony, but he could use a car. Yes, I understand that, and there's other populations that do have needs. But this returning citizen population is one where the challenges that they face and are so daunting at some points that you have to sit there and go the extra mile, because we tell people that they've served their time and that they should be done. Well, unfortunately, that's just not the case. You come back and that record follows you now more than ever because of the internet. I'm a returning citizen myself. If you Google my name, it talks about what I did in 2006, not what I did in 2019. And so that happens to every returning citizen, and it makes it a challenge for them to move forward and reinvent their life in a positive way. And so what we try and do is make sure that that support is there for the ones who are serious, the ones who want to change. And we need so much community support, and we're so grateful that we got a chance to come and talk to you all today, and that there's people out there that may be able to support us in some way. I mentioned mentoring. We can always use more mentors, and all you would have to do is, the contact information for me is here available at the church, and so you can just let me know, and I can get you in touch with Bob Miller to get you trained as a mentor. Donating used vehicles. If you have an old car that instead of trading it in, we can give you the tax paperwork and everything else so that you take that car and you get actually more for it, and it allows somebody to get back and forth to work rather than just be sold at auction or used as a part of your trade-in allowance on that vehicle. And then, of course, as I mentioned, being on the board with specific skills, we're looking for people with financial and legal backgrounds to continue to serve on our board and assist, and also to be a general mentor to the individuals in the program. If there's somebody who has experiences tax preparation, being out there to assist our members so that they don't spend hundreds of dollars trying to get a rapid refund and going to one of these places that opens up every spring to take their tax money. So we would like to work with individuals on those kind of things. So any volunteers can always be used in that nature. And then, of course, financial resources. It costs about $4,500 for us to run our van every month. That expense is borne by the donations from local parishes and from individuals. But the return on investment is amazing. Right now, that van generates over $1,500,000 in wages from the passengers who are riding that van, from an expense of about $4,500 a month. We're taking all these individuals to work, and when you add up the incomes that they're able to generate, it has a huge impact on Greater Cincinnati. I wish we were a 100% organization. I wish we were an organization that 100% of the people that come in the door exit the door doing well. It's not the case. We deal with many individuals who have to start over and over and over again. I have a young man he's on his 11th job with me. He's just starting tomorrow. He's going to be working in a construction job. It's going to be the 11th time he's tried. He continues to get better, but he hasn't gotten to where we want him to go yet. But that's okay. We don't give up on people. We take a break sometimes and say, hey, we need to give you a chance to try again. But we continue to work with individuals to give them that opportunity so that they can move forward. And it's a funnel. So it starts off with quite a few people coming in our initial stages. And as you go through each one of those stages I mentioned, it gets less and less. But with the limited resources and limited number of mentors and limited number of donated cars, that's necessary. We need that decrease in population, and it's appropriate because we don't want to reward someone just for doing the basic, which is going to work, which is what we want everybody in society to do. We want to reward the ones who are making sure that they're putting in that reliable time, that are really trying to better themselves and are really trying to change their lives. And so if you're out there and you're an employer, I would love to come and talk to you about how I can bring returning citizens into your workplace. If you're a landlord, I would love to talk to you about housing and how you can really help by being willing to forgive this person's past transgressions and let the HELP program, assist that person in coming into the housing market by renting an apartment to this individual. And if you just are interested in the program in general, please feel free to reach out and contact me. So this is unusual in that this is usually the time where I ask, does anyone have any questions? And in this way, it's a little bit difficult, but I encourage any of you that if you do have any questions or comments, please to get in touch with me, and I look forward to hearing from you. And thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Every month, we designate one of our Sunday plate collections to benefit a special cause or a local social service organization. And for the month of June, we could think of no better cause than the HELP program of Cincinnati. You've heard all the wonderful things they're doing to support returning citizens in our area, and you've heard the areas in which they can use our time, talent, and our treasures. Our time, talent, and our treasures. If you're interested in volunteering with the HELP program, or if you have a vehicle to donate, you can send a text to 513-432-0907. Again, that's 513-432-0907. If you'd like to support the work of the HELP program financially, you can do so by texting the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. If you are a member of the church or have access to our Breeze system, you can do that by clicking Give Now. Anyone can contribute via our website at www.firstuu.com, or you can mail a check to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. To make sure that your contribution gets to HELP program of Cincinnati, be sure to select the special plate offering for June in the pull-down menu, or write it on the memo line of your check. Our offering will now be gratefully received. If this is your first time visiting, we invite you to let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is your gift to us. Thank you so much. Let us now extinguish our chalice by reciting together the words that appear on your screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. As we leave this place today, let us each remember our commitment to gently transforming lives through deeds great and small, remembering that each of us deserves another chance, and another chance, and another chance, even when that means we need to take a break from you for a while. We will be there with another chance. Go in peace, my friends. I'd like to share with you some announcements in our community for the coming weeks. This Tuesday, June 15th, from 7 to 8:30 p.m., we will be hosting an information session regarding General Assembly and issues that are affecting the Unitarian Universalist Association as a whole. There is no need to register for this session. If you're interested, just email member-care@firstuu.com to receive the Zoom invite. Next Sunday on 10 a.m., our service will happen via Zoom, not YouTube, but Zoom, as we celebrate our third annual People Who Get Things Done Awards. Nominations are open through this Wednesday. You can submit those nominations through Breeze. If you have forgotten or lost the invite, it'll be sent out again today, just as a reminder to get those last nominations in. If you don't have access to Breeze, you can send me an email, but registration or nominations through Breeze are preferred. We are celebrating the reopening of our campus with a church picnic on Sunday, June 27th from 4 to 6. Bring a picnic and bring yard games for family fun in the front yard and the parking lot. The building will be bathroom access only. All gatherings will be taking place outside. Masks are required when gathering within 6 feet because not all our kiddos are eligible to be vaccinated yet. Yard games will include cornhole, spike ball, badminton, and whatever you bring. No reservations are required. For questions, please email Rebecca Schaefer.